What's going on, everybody? Here we are for the week two NFL picks. Week one was a ton of fun. Love getting back in the swing of things here for the NFL. We went 12-4 in week one, so we did all right. Would like to do a little bit better than that, but we'll definitely take it. The Chiefs did us dirty Friday night against the Chargers. The Dolphins looked atrocious. I don't know why I thought they were going to win, but they lost, obviously. And then the Patriots lost in a tough one, and the Ravens just blew it against the Bills, and we lost that one too. So we went 12-4 in week one, did pretty good. Going to look to build on that again this week. And I'm really excited for this week. We got the Packers versus the Commanders on Thursday night. My Green Bay Packers. Let's see what we got. So as I mentioned, Commanders at Packers, Thursday night football. This one is going to be a good game. It's the youngest team in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers, versus the oldest team in the NFL, the Commanders. This one's going to be a fun one to watch. These are two NFC heavyweights. The Packers in week one looked like arguably the best team in the NFL. I know I got that Packers bias, but you can't lie. They looked really good. They shut the Lions down defensively. Their offense looked unstoppable really until like maybe the fourth quarter when they kind of slowed things down. But both these teams looked really good in week one. The Commanders took a little bit longer to get going against the Giants, but they figured things out and got that win pretty easily. I think all around the Packers are the better football team here, though. They might be lacking Zach Tom and Aaron Banks on the offensive line due to injury tonight. But other than that, there's nothing really that concerns me about the Packers. I just don't think the Commanders' defense is going to be able to slow down the Packers' offense the same way that the Packers will the Commanders. Edgerrin Cooper is going to be spying Jaden Daniels all night long. I think he's going to have a second year breakout season this year. Edgerrin Cooper and maybe Jaden Daniels too, but Cooper is definitely someone to watch for the Packers this year as well. He's going to be on Daniels. I just don't see the Commanders putting up a ton of points against our defense. They're a great offense. I just don't see them going for like 30 or anything like that. And I think they're probably going to need to score 27, 28, 30 points to beat the Packers tonight. Jaden Daniels struggled against pressure last week. Expect Jeff Hafley and that defense to be sending pressure at him all day long. Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, the rest of that squad, they are going to be coming hard. And I've got the Packers winning tonight for Thursday Night Football. Next up, we've got the Giants going to Dallas to play the Cowboys. I have the Cowboys in this one. Dallas looked a lot better than I expected in week one. I was really fading them to start the season. I had their overall record at 7-10. If I could go back and change that today, I definitely would. Maybe 8-9, 9-8. I think they're better than a 7-win team, which is where I had them. They especially looked better running the ball than we all expected. Javonte Williams, for whatever reason, figured out how to play football again. He had no idea how to do that when he was in Denver, but he figured it out in Dallas last week, putting up 2 touchdowns. Obviously, no Jalen Carter for the Eagles made things a bit easier for the Cowboys running the ball. And on the note of the Giants, they looked bad on Sunday. Outside of their defense, which looked pretty good, but we all expected that, their offense looked so bad. Russell Wilson couldn't do anything offensively. He was missing targets left and right. Malik Neighbors visibly upset on the sidelines. Him and Brian Dable yelling at each other throughout the game. I think Brian Dable will be fired at some point this season. You can check me on that. Come back to this video when it actually does happen. I'm calling it now. And I just don't think the Giants offense has anything going for them, and that's going to keep them out of this game. I've got the Cowboys winning it. Next up, we've got the Seahawks visiting the Steelers. Last week it was Rodgers' revenge game against the Jets. Today, or on Sunday, is going to be DK Metcalf's revenge game against the Seahawks. This could be a really close game, but I do have the Steelers pulling this one out. I think week one was a bit of a fluke for that Steelers defense. I think they're a lot better than what they showed. I mean, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence for me. I mean, Justin Fields went out and passed the ball all over the place against them. That's a little scary if I'm a Steelers fan, but ultimately, I think they're going to bounce back on defense a little bit this week. I also think Rodgers comes back to earth. I don't think what we saw is going to be an indicator of what he's like all season. I think we're going to see not so great performance here and there and some big plays here and there from Rodgers. But anyways, I've got the Steelers taking this one. DK Metcalf revenge game. Witherspoon's going to be all over him throughout the game. I don't expect DK to do a ton. I think Calvin Austin's probably going to lead receiving again for the Steelers. Maybe Caleb Johnson gets involved just a little bit more. I was surprised to see Kenneth Gainwell in that Najee Harris role rather than Caleb Johnson. Probably isn't going to be happening this Sunday, but at some point he's going to be more involved in that offense. Darnold and the Seahawks didn't look real good on Sunday. I don't expect them to do anything crazy here this week. Steelers are going to win this one. Next up, we've got the Rams going to Tennessee to play the Titans, and the Rams defense looked phenomenal on Sunday. They shut the Texans down. I mean, the Texans' offensive line is really, really bad, and the Rams' D line is really, really good, which is why I hammered Rams last week. I absolutely knew they were going to win that game, and they absolutely will win this game for the exact same reason. The Titans' offensive line is struggling. J.C. Latham will be out this Sunday. I think the Rams' D line is going to just cause absolute terrors for Cam Ward. He's probably not going to sleep at night this week. Matthew Stafford and that offense looked okay. I mean, the Texans defense is a really good team, so it's not surprising that they only put up 14 points. I'd like to see them do a little bit better. I didn't have a ton of confidence in the Rams this season overall, and I thought Stafford's health was going to be the number one reason why they wouldn't be successful. He looked healthy on Sunday. All reports are that he's a full go. There's no problems. So as long as Stafford is healthy, I think the Rams are one of the better teams in the NFC and definitely a threat for the 49ers for that division. Next up, we've got the Bills going to play the Jets. Obviously, I've got the Bills taking this one. There's no chance that the Jets win this game. The Jets will not repeat what they did on Sunday offensively against the Bills here. Josh Allen is going to rip that defense apart. I know the Jets defense has some good pieces. Quinnen Williams is a really underrated player, and I say that being that he was an all-pro player last year, I still think that's underrated. The Bills got lucky on Sunday. I will just say that. They didn't look that great against the Ravens. They didn't deserve to win that game. And I don't think they're the better team between them and Baltimore. But they did pull out that win. And all that matters is it's a number one in the win column for them. And that's the only thing that we can remember today. Bills are going to win this game. I think Justin Fields comes back to earth. I don't expect Breece Hall to run all over the place on these guys. Garrett Wilson's probably not going to have a huge game like he did on Sunday. Ultimately, I think the Bills take this one pretty easily. Next up, we've got the Patriots going to play the Dolphins in Miami. And this one is supposed to be a hot one, which definitely serves in favor of the Dolphins. That stadium has shade over the Dolphins sideline, and the away sideline is just blazing hot. So those home games early in the season for the Dolphins is a huge home field advantage. No Christian Gonzalez on Sunday. That definitely makes me nervous. This is a game where I could see the Dolphins win, and had they not been so bad last week, I'd pick them in a heartbeat. There are things that I think teams really struggle to come back from, and bad team chemistry is one of those things. The Dolphins' team chemistry was in shambles on Sunday. Reports of Tyreek Hill getting traded already being flown out there. There's a domestic violence thing about Tyreek Hill that just came out this week. The Tua Tagovailoa, the memes out there about him being the worst quarterback in the NFL. I saw this thing where it had said Tua's mental, Tua's arm, Tua's legs, and all those things created the worst possible QB in the NFL. And he really did look like it on Sunday. So I don't expect the Miami Dolphins to bounce back. They're just not looking like a good football team right now. Mike McDaniels is on the hot seat. Even though no Christian Gonzalez, they're going to Miami in a hot one. I still have the Patriots winning this game. Next up, we got the Jaguars at the Bengals. Jaguars 1-0, Bengals 0-1. Bengals looked really, really, really bad on Sunday. Joe Burrow and that offense looked terrible. I don't know how they weren't able to expose that Cleveland defense. And then the defense for the Bengals didn't look that great either. I know they only gave up 16 points, but Joe Flacco and the Browns should not be a good offense. Joe Flacco threw for almost 300 yards. Yes, I know he had 2 interceptions, but he went for 290 yards. And that's just not something that the Bengals are going to have success with if they let quarterbacks like Flacco go for 300 on them. I expect this to be a close game. It could be higher scoring. Apparently, Travis Hunter is going to be playing a lot more on defense today than he did on last Sunday. So I think that could be interesting. Probably going to be matching up a lot with Chase or Higgins. Both of them, I assume. I do have the Bengals winning this game. I think it will be a close one, and it's definitely one that I'm not super confident in either team. And I'm excited to watch this one on Sunday, but I do think the Bengals win it. Next up, we've got the 49ers going to New Orleans to play the Saints. First of all, no Brock Purdy for the next 2 to 5 weeks. Also, no George Kittle. Not to mention, Brandon Ayuk is also out for the 49ers. They are hurting early in the season here for injuries. I actually view these teams really, really similarly right now because of the injuries to the Niners. Mac Jones, Spencer Rattler, I think are comparable quarterbacks. I think their weapons at receiver are comparable. You could argue the Saints even have an edge with Pearsall and Olave. With Shaheed and Olave versus Pearsall and Jennings for the Niners. But Christian McCaffrey's a lot better than Kamara, and that Niners defense is a lot better than that Saints defense. Same with the Niners O line versus Saints O line. So ultimately, I think that the Niners get this one done, but this could definitely be a sneaky upset. This is one where I'm not really loving the Niners here, and if you're really looking to go against the public, the Saints could be a sneaky pick here this Sunday. Niners are just riddled with injuries. We're going to see Christian McCaffrey probably get another 30 touches like he did on Sunday, although he looked healthy, which is great. We're definitely going to need to see him have a big game. Probably going to be low scoring here. We'll see if Spencer Rattler can get his first win as an NFL starting QB. But ultimately, I think the Niners still get it done. Next, we've got the Browns at the Ravens. I'm not even going to talk about this one for very long. This is my worst predicted team versus my best predicted team over the course of the season. Ravens are going to blow them out of the water. They're going to come out fiery from Sunday. They are going to be pissed off about what happened versus the Bills. They're going to absolutely destroy the Browns. I think they leave their starters in through the end of the fourth quarter, up 35 points against the Browns. I don't care what the spread is. If it's 17 points, I'm taking the Ravens. There is not a chance that the Browns win this game. And I know I had a lot of confidence in the Bengals over the Browns last week. This is different. The Ravens are so much better than the Bengals. They are going to blow them out. Bears at Lions. I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. Ben Johnson coming back to Detroit to get his revenge on the Lions. Who knows what we're going to see here? I think both teams are going to try to be really cute with their game plans. Dan Campbell knows that Ben Johnson was in that locker room last year. He knows everything about the Lions. He's definitely going to be throwing some different things at Chicago here this coming Sunday, trying to throw them off a little bit. And I think Ben Johnson also is going to try to do some unusual things here with the Bears that he maybe didn't do so much back in Detroit last year. So I'm really just curious to see the coaching battle throughout this game. I think the Lions are a significantly better team. Dan Campbell has a really good resume. He's just a more experienced coach. So ultimately, I'm taking the Lions in this game. But it should be a really fun one to watch, specifically for that coaching matchup. And let me just say this: Caleb Williams is not going to be a good NFL QB. He is not coachable. Ben Johnson is visibly upset watching him play football. Caleb Williams refuses to throw the ball from a set position. He always just forces the improvisation, which is where he gets the Patrick Mahomes comparisons. But Patrick Mahomes only improvises when needed to. Caleb improvises when there's wide open receivers. DJ Moore was wide open for a touchdown in the fourth quarter last week against the Vikings, and the Bears had it won, but Caleb Williams overthrew him by 10 yards. 10 points on offense last week for the Bears. Their offense still looks terrible despite arguably the best play caller in the NFL coming to their team. Having all those weapons in Chicago, it doesn't matter. They're still the Chicago Bears. They're cursed. They will never be good, and they're going to lose again on Sunday. Next up, we got the Broncos going to Indianapolis and playing the Colts. Colts were definitely the story of Sunday. Daniel Jones and the Colts scored on 7 of 7 drives. He's the first quarterback to do that since 1991. I never thought I'd say something like that about Daniel Jones. I think he is washed. I think he's bad QB. I don't think he's a winning QB. He even had reasonably okay teams around him a couple years in New York, yet he never did good. I think Sunday was an indicator of the Dolphins more than it was the Colts. I think the Colts are gonna be an okay football team this year. I'm thinking 8-9, 7-10, somewhere in that realm. I don't remember exactly. I think I had them at 8-9, or 7-10, one or the other during my full season predictions. I still think they're probably going to finish 8-9 or 9-8, mostly due to that defense that looked really good against Miami, which not hard to look good against Miami, and Jonathan Taylor in that run game also looked pretty good. Broncos did not look good against Tennessee. Their offense looked bad. Bo Nix looked bad. They really struggled to get anything going offensively against a Tennessee defense that I think is subpar at best. You know, they've got a couple good guys on Tennessee's defense. Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, Sweat. Sweat and Simmons were a really good combo stopping the run. But ultimately, the Broncos just looked bad on Sunday. I think they're going to get back to it this week. I think the Broncos bounce back and they get a good win against the Colts. This is one, though, that I could see going either way in a low scoring bout, but Broncos are probably going to get this one done due to their really, really, really strong defense. Next up, we got the Panthers at Cardinals. Cardinals keep the early season success going with a win over Carolina here coming this Sunday. As I mentioned, you know, early in the year with my predictions and my week one picks, Carolina just does not have the weapons to win football games this year. Ted McMillan and Chuba Hubbard are not enough to go out and win games. I don't trust Xavier Legette and Hunter Renfrow as the backup receivers behind Ted McMillan. They combined for, what was it, 21 receiving yards on Sunday. That's just terrible from your wide receiver 2 and 3. Jatavion Sanders is never going to be a star tight end who goes out and gets 50, 60 receiving yards per game. So you just need to add more weapons if you're Carolina, if you want any chance at giving Bryce Young success and at winning football games. So Cardinals are going to get this one done. And I think that's more of a hit on the Panthers than anything. But the Cardinals looked all right on Sunday, too. They fed Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball a lot more than they did last year. They finally designed a couple plays for him, which they weren't doing at all last year. I loved to see that. Kyler Murray looked okay. And Will Johnson looked really, really good on Sunday. I said during the predictions that he was a sleeper draft pick. He should not have gone nearly as late as he did in the NFL draft, and he's going to be a great cornerback. Week one into the NFL, he's proven it already. Cardinals are going to be okay this year, and they're definitely going to get it done against Carolina. Next up, we've got the Super Bowl rematch. Eagles are going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. I've got the Eagles winning this rematch. This one's going to be fun to watch. I actually don't think it's going to be super competitive, though. I think the Eagles go on and beat them up pretty good again, like they did in the Super Bowl. The lack of weapons for Kansas City was really telling when they played Los Angeles Chargers last Friday, and it's looking like Xavier Worthy is still going to be out again this Sunday. I'm surprised to even hear that he's day to day. I was not going to be surprised if he was out for the entire season, to be real honest with you. Shoulder injuries can be nasty, and I'm happy for Xavier Worthy that he's going to be coming back quicker than I expected. But the lack of weapons for Kansas City is just going to be really tough for them to compete against the Eagles here. Jalen Carter is coming back this week, and we saw how much of an impact that made for the Eagles last week. Missing him, the Cowboys were able to run the ball all over him. So I think Eagles get it done here in this Super Bowl rematch, but it's going to be a fun one to watch. Next up, we got the Falcons going to Minnesota to play the Vikings. And man, do I wish Kirk Cousins was still the starting QB in Atlanta. He'd have his revenge game here. It'd be so fun to watch. The storyline would be great. We all love that. But no, we're going to see Michael Penix go into Minnesota to take on J.J. McCarthy. In another storyline, a national championship rematch between these two QBs. JJ McCarthy got it done the last time they played, and he's going to get it done again this Sunday. I don't think he looked real good playing the Bears Monday night. You know, that interception he threw, he telegraphed it the entire way. He forced it to Justin Jefferson. It was underthrown. Easy pick six for the Bears there. And the Falcons looked okay, I would say, against the Buccaneers. Their defense especially looked good. Their pass rush looked so much better than it did last year with those new additions that they got in the draft. But ultimately, I think the Vikings defense is just going to be too much for the Falcons to handle on Sunday, and the Vikings are going to get it done here. Next up, we got the Buccaneers going to Texas to play the Texans, the Houston Texans. Truthfully, I've got no idea why the Texans are favored in this game. They're 0-1, the Bucks are 1-0. Yes, I know that's just one game. It doesn't really matter all that much, but I think the Bucks are a better team. I thought so at the beginning of the season. I thought so after watching last week. I would love plus money on the Bucks this week, so definitely taking that. Baker Mayfield looked terrible last Sunday. I think he got bailed out by a couple big plays on those tight window throws to Abuka. I mean, he made a couple really good throws there, but he also whiffed on throws where receivers were wide open and he was barely under pressure. He didn't look like himself last Sunday. And I'll just chalk that one up to early season struggles. I think he bounces back this week. The Texans' defense is really tough, and I don't think he's going to go out there and go for 275 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I do think he looks better as a quarterback. He makes better decisions, and he makes more accurate throws. The Texans' offense looked terrible last week, and I've been preaching it for the last couple of months that their offensive line is going to be their downfall this week. They couldn't, or this year, sorry. They literally couldn't run the ball last week. Their best receiver was their rookie Jaden Higgins, 2 receptions for 32 yards. They're just not going to be a good team if that offensive line can't figure it out just a little bit, protect CJ Stroud, allow that group of running backs, whoever is going to come out of there, to do a little bit of something. But ultimately, I think that the Bucks are a better team, and they're just going to get it done here. Lastly, we got the Chargers going to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. I've got the Chargers in this one. I had a lot of confidence in the Chargers going into this season. I had them at 10-7 in a really difficult division with the Broncos, Chiefs, and Raiders there. I think that's a really respectable prediction for them. I think they're a great football team, and they looked awesome versus the Chiefs in their opener. I was shocked to see how much they threw the ball. I expected with Hampton and Najee Harris, they were going to be running the ball 30, 35 times a game. That obviously did not happen last Sunday. They must have seen something when game planning against the Chiefs that they thought that they could throw it against them and expose that defense. Boy, did they ever. Quentin Johnston finally decided it's better to catch the ball than drop it. I wish he could have figured that out last year or when he was at TCU. That would have been pretty cool. But he had a big game last week, scoring 2 touchdowns. He looked pretty solid. He finally decided to catch the ball, which is cool. The Raiders also looked pretty good last week as well. I think the weapons that they've got on offense this year is pretty awesome. Especially Geno Smith is a huge upgrade from what they had last year. Brock Bowers is going to have a monster year. I don't know why so many fantasy football analysts were fading him in the offseason. They all probably just got PTSD from Sam Laporta 2 years ago. But Brock Bowers is going to have another monster season this year. It looks like he's going to be good to go on Sunday. I sure hope that's the case. If it is, the Raiders do stand a chance here of keeping this one competitive. But ultimately, I think the Chargers get it done. And last thing I'll touch on is just Ashton Jeanty in his debut. He didn't look great. I don't put that on Jeanty. The Raiders O-line, like I've said here a couple separate times in my videos, is just not that great. And Jeanty, he might have been able to make do with that Boise State line in college when going up against big teams. It's the NFL. It's a whole different ball game. You need to have holes. You need to have opportunities, and he really didn't have that on Sunday. So I don't blame that opener, that first performance from him on Jeanty, and I expect him to get better as the season goes on, especially if the Raiders' offensive line can continue to get better. But ultimately, I've got the Chargers getting this one done on Sunday. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you follow my picks. Follow them all season long. You guys are going to be really, really stoked with the results. We went 12-4 last week. This video is going to be coming out again Thursday next week, and I will check in with you guys then on how we did this week. Until then, good luck. Thanks.